I think self-awareness is a superpower, and I can say with integrity and authenticity that I can live in two tensions.
Okay.
Like so many tensions.
Yeah.
I think it was Craig Rochelle that said there's so many things that we try to make black or white, but they're not problems to solve, they're tensions to be managed.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, is it like as a business owner or something, is it greed or is it generosity? That's a tension. Mm-hmm. Am I slipping into greed? Well, I should probably give and be generous and start, And
some CEOs give as a way to control, right?
Sure.
And it's
tensions.
It's just all tension.
And is it selfish ambition or godly ambition or positive ambition and these different tensions? So I think on the one hand, like we have core values at our company, purpose-driven, Bible is our blueprint.
Okay.
I would actually say my theology is anchored in be fruitful and multiply.
Okay.
Like why we're on the earth. Steward what you have. If I've been given a company, grow it. If I've been given a family, grow it. If it's, as well as time is short. Like I'm thinking of Bible verses, like time is short, it's urgent. And where there's a mission behind our company. So I feel an urgency. I think any successful, if you feel no urgency in business, like you're done.
100%.
And it's also a tension of like, you're reading John Mark Comer, Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
And then David Goggins over here.
And
right?
then David Goggins,
Yeah.
or the CEO of Intel who wrote a book, Only the Paranoid Survive. Mm-hmm. I feel like in my soul I got peace. And then I'm paranoid every day as an entrepreneur.
Gotcha.
So tensions. So on the one hand, I think there's this purpose-driven, mission-driven. On the other hand, I think it's crippling insecurity, chip on my shoulder, trying to win my dad's approval, trying to prove others wrong. I heard somebody say that elements of the successful is like high insecurity, some trying to prove somebody wrong, and then also impulse control. So, because if you don't have impulse control, you're not gonna be able to be disciplined, and like the combination of those things.
Oh yeah, it's a toxic. It's like it's a poison, but it's a poison that's like also jet fuel, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, is that just the price to play? I mean, is that the price to get in the arena? Because I'm wrestling with that personally. Because, and it's not just guys like us who have millions of views. It's the single mom who scrolls through Instagram and is like, oh, I'm not doing enough.
Sure.
Or it's the dad who's like trying to have a good job, trying to be a good husband, the coach is saying, if your kid doesn't play this sport, then you're crushing his childhood. Like, and there's always seems to be, all right, the finish line keeps moving. Maybe that's the best way to say it. And our bodies are shutting us down, and we're like, no, keep going.
And by the way, to your point, like I do think I look back and people would be like, you're insane. Like you had financial margin. You have a team around you who could support you. Now, I think one of the things though, with this whole weird personal brand thing, and we've worked with like other content creators and whatnot, but you feel like if you stop pedaling the bicycle, so there's the tension of having this courage and fear or faith, and then the tension of also like having fear. Like, what if I stop pedaling the bike? Like, what if, and who does that affect?
But you and I both know what happens. Somebody else fills that gap. Yeah. Especially in these platforms. It happens fast. It happens fast.
And even, in these platforms too, the momentum of it, because there is something about momentum. And if you then get into, there's deep conversations about this. There was this whole wave of articles that came out about creators are burning out, YouTubers are burning out. One of the biggest creators, PewDiePie, opens up about a drinking problem. Creators are, they're burning out. The algorithm is causing it. The way the social media algorithms are for creators are getting you kind of in this trap where even what it's doing to your brain but also how fragile your career is. The upside of cracking success as a content creator is so high, but yet you feel like constantly like tomorrow's not guaranteed. And so I kind of want to milk this while I can. And perhaps the finances are really like crazy good this year, but maybe my career is over next year. And so then even thinking about that, having a long-term perspective that, of course, managing your money well and realizing if in the good times you're smart, then in famine you're prepared. So I think there's driving through. As I started to get into chronic pain and some stuff and issues because I worked so hard from 32 or from through my 20s to 32, and 32 is when it started to really kick in and having braces. I also started to shift into building a team, and the work became different. was able to hire a video editor, and the actual computer work itself, so much typing and mouse work became delegated. Nevertheless, even some of the most minimal typing could trigger repetitive strain injury, RSI.
Was it RSI or was it psychosomatic or both?
Probably both. Okay. I've studied like Sarno's work about the psychosomatic side of it, as well as nerve entrapment. I think it's the nerve entrapment, right shoulder, the nerves go under here.
My wife was just telling me that last night, and she was just talking about the last 6 years, and we were laying in bed. She's just like, man, 6 years ago versus 6 years ago before that. And when I got to Nashville, my neck was so jacked up. And she just real quick, she's like, man, just think 6 years ago, our marriage was almost over. We had a 2-year-old. We packed up and moved away from all of our family across the country for this crazy. And she just rattled it all off. I was like, oh, well, of course my body was storing that somewhere. Of course it was.
Yeah.
And it would have been crazy for it not to have been, right? And so, there's that it holds it, and it holds it and holds it. And maybe there's just not a great answer right now.
Well, one of the things that came up, tracking back to the question I feel like you asked, but something to definitely share, is I really believe self-awareness is a superpower. And here's what I've seen, especially in this industry for me. I started to get exposed to like different individuals that are like on social media, you'd call it, there'd be get that grind set on, that hustle culture.
Yes.
And that also is like, build more. And then you could see these different extremes. And I had a mentor. I was on a business planning workshop, and a guy named Patrick David asked me a question. I did the VIP, and he asked me a question that was so profound, and it was talking about our company's doing multiple million. But he was like, let me ask you this. Would you want to work 80-hour weeks so you could get to 10 million a year in the next 12 months? Or would you be willing to, or would you rather work 20-hour weeks and get to 10 million in the next 5 years? And so even just kind of laying out that scenario, here was my answer was, well, self-awareness is, I don't want to work 20-hour weeks. Mm-hmm. I love what I do. I want to, I'm not actually chasing money, I'm chasing impact. So for whatever I feel like God has put in my hand to do right now, I want to put my hand to the plow. I'm not trying to solve for Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week.
Right. But
I also don't want the ambition to get so crazy. I want to be done at 5 and I take my kids on a walk. And I do like now the other day I was thinking, my mom, who was able to recently, and stepdad move 1-2 minutes walking distance from us.
That's awesome.
So one of the reasons it would be better for our business to stay in Las Vegas. Now we're more in Seattle for growth, ambition, and all that kind of stuff. But for family, getting kids around the grandparents. So which were we solving for? Well, I wanted to make the decision, even if it meant the business grew slower, to be around family and trying to keep my mom healthy and keep her moving. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Mom, here is what winning looks like. At least 3 nights a week, 5 o'clock, we're going on a walk. We're putting the 2 boys in our Thule jogging stroller. We're going to the park. You're coming with me. She's just getting moving, just getting back into that routine. And as we're out walking and processing the day or just being, in the trees, I think to myself, I'm like, this is success.
This is what they'll talk about at your funeral. Not how big your business was at one time. But remember all those walks we used to take with Grandma.
The walks we used to take with Grandma. But I still want to get up, and I'm a grind set day. I want to get up. I'll cold plunge, against Fred or red light therapy, but self-awareness. And I felt you can just get pulled. I think there's so many good things to learn, and a lot of times we go to these extremes. Culture is so extremes right now, and so that's why one of the reasons why I love like Ramsey Solutions is, Dave, when we had him on our podcast, was talking about keep chopping wood. It's work. You got to have the work ethic. You got to have the work ethic. You put in the work. He also talked about there's seasons of sacrifice, but it's not going to be sustainable. So we go to these extremes. It's like sometimes we're trying to say like anti-hustle culture. Well, that shouldn't be the culture, but you need to hustle at certain times. And so a lot of it's been self-awareness. And I think as we grow, thinking about, okay, pushing for that, more views, more subscribers, more money, whatever. What is that kind of tipping point? And then maybe having checks and balances to know if something's on fire and if there's smoke. And so if walks are happening with grandma, then things are good. If we're hitting date nights or we have some margin, then things. And if we don't, we back it up a little bit. And talking to Pastor Bet David about that, he was talking about his self-awareness and sitting down with his wife when they got married. He went through this book with 100 questions, knew exactly what his vision was, exactly how much he wanted to work, exactly what he wanted to build. We got married at 21. We didn't even know we'd be. Right. So I even think about honoring my wife for what did she sign up for, and letting that be a conversation as opposed to like, well, you either get on the bus or you're. Right. I was like, no, like we're building this thing together. So yeah, if actually I really, think that it's important we capture vision from God, but sometimes the clarity of the timeline is uncertain and we might be a little too hasty on it.
Yeah, there's one of my favorite quotes in relationship world is that the average adult has 4 to 5 great loves in their lifetime. And if you work really hard, it can be with the same person. And I love the fact that my wife is married to a radically different husband now than she was at 24 or 23 when she walked down the aisle. Thank God, that guy was an idiot, right? And I'm sure in 10 years I'll be like, that dude was a Looney Tune.